there's a hidden reason Singapore schools start so early, and it's not what you think. Watch on, and if you're old enough, you might already know it. So, for a start, we need to know the rules. You see, there is a guideline on when schools can start in Singapore. The Ministry of Education actually has an official guideline. Schools cannot start earlier than 7:30 AM. However, schools have the freedom to start late. They just need to consider things like parents' feedback, what time school ends, after-school programs, transport, and the traffic situation around the school. So, why are schools opting for 7:30 AM, the earliest time slot? Many of us think it's just so that parents can send their kids to school first before they go to work. Well, that's actually not the key reason. You see, back in 1957, Singapore had a problem. We had too many kids and not enough schools. The post-war baby boom meant classrooms were busting, and the country simply could not build schools fast enough. Yeah, I know, we're having the opposite problem now, but anyways. Therefore, back then, Singapore came up with a clever workaround, the double session system. If you're old enough, you'll remember this. If you're too young, then here's how it worked. In the school, there will be two batches of students. The morning batch came in early, did their lessons, and cleared out by lunchtime. Then in the afternoon, a completely different batch of students came in and used the same building, same classrooms, same everything. This means one school premises can handle more students. And yes, that's where the early start came from. If the morning session did not start early, the afternoon session could not fit. So yes, last time, the morning session students used to laugh at those afternoon session students who just came for their classes. But here's the thing, ask any young people nowadays and they will not remember this double session system because it no longer exists. Over the decades, Singapore built way more schools and slowly phased the double session system out. By January 2000, all secondary schools were already running on single sessions. And in April 2009, the government accepted the recommendations of the Primary Education Review and Implementation Committee to convert all the remaining double session government and government-aided primary schools to single session by 2016. So today, almost every kid goes to school in one session, which is the morning session. So why haven't we changed the timing of the morning session? Well, before that, you need to know some studies. If you are looking to advertise your business in this channel, we can help you. There are guaranteed views and many big brands have trusted us. Just click on the link in the description. You see, firstly, teenagers are not just lazy when they could not wake up early. It's actually biology. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, when puberty hits, a teenager's internal body clock, you know the sleep-wake cycle, shift later by up to 2 hours. So, their bodies naturally want to sleep later and wake later. Now, compare that to Singapore. Our schools typically start around 7:30 AM, which is a full hour earlier than the 8:30 AM or later that big medical bodies like the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Medical Association, and the American Academy of Sleep Medicine all recommend for teenagers. To add on, a study by researchers at NUS published in the medical journal Sleep described sleep deprivation among Singaporean teenagers as rampant, with the average time in bed on school nights being just 6.5 hours. The recommended amount for teens is 8 hours or more. So basically, biologically speaking, it's better for teenagers to wake up later. And the study also kind of backed that up. Back in July 2016, Nanyang Girls High School in Singapore pushed their start time from 7:30 AM to 8:15 AM and did it without delaying the end of the school day. They just restructured their timetable. A team from NUS studied what happened and published their findings in the academic journal Sleep in 2018. And what did they find? According to the NUS study, after just 1 month, students were going to bed only 9 minutes later, but waking up 31.6 minutes later. The net result is about 23 extra minutes in bed. And after 9 months, the improvement actually stayed. Total sleep time went up by about 10 minutes compared to before. And here's the best part. The number of students getting at least 8 hours of sleep on a weekday jumped from 6.9% to 16.1%. The students reported feeling less sleepy and having better well-being. The cherry on the top, the majority of students, teachers, and parents supported the change after trying it. So, if you think about it, the data also supported this. Now, if the science and data support a later timing, why hasn't every school here switched to 8:15 AM? Well, before that, let's look at what other countries are doing. Could other countries' students be starting school early too? So, are Singapore schools the only schools in the world to start earlier than usual? Over in Malaysia, their students start school early as well, or sometimes even earlier. Most Malaysian schools begin as early as 7:30 AM, and some even at 7 AM, which means kids there are also waking up at 6 AM or earlier. However, in the US, according to data from the US Centers for Disease Control, the average American public school starts at 8 AM, and they are fighting to start school even later. In the UK, most primary schools start between 8:30 AM and 8:50 AM, finishing mid-afternoon. Yeah, we follow everything they do, but somehow we we did not follow their school timing. How about another country that is also ranked among the best education system in the world, like Singapore? Finland, whose education system is often compared with Singapore, start their schools between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. with some classes beginning as late as 9 or 9:15 a.m. Yeah, so if you think about it, other than Singapore and Malaysia, many schools all over the world start slightly later too. Which now begs the question, the science and data support a later timing, and other countries are doing that as well. So why are students in Singapore still starting school so early, since the double session system no longer exists? Well, MOE is actually studying this. In the Parliament reply in 2021, the ministry said it had commissioned 2 research studies on the factors affecting students' sleep duration and quality, and that it will consider both local and overseas research before making any big moves. And to be fair, there are real-world complications. Changing the school start time isn't just about students. It affects teachers' working hours, school bus timings, the morning traffic jam, and it also clashes with parents' work timings. For people who have no kids, this could affect them too, as it could potentially lead to more massive jams on the road and public transport during the morning peak hours, given that everyone, both working adults and students, are going to somewhere at the same time. So yes, if we are going to see any change, it might take years before we see them. Like how we remove Primary 7 and Primary 8. Yeah, I bet you did not know that we once had Primary 7 and Primary 8 in Singapore. Watch this and you will understand. Also, if you want to advertise with us, even as a standalone video, do contact us. Our website is in the description, or you can scan this QR code. Thank you for spending almost 6 minutes with me. I really appreciate it and hope you learned something.